liked, or just thoughts on him? I know he's a little banged up right now, but what you're counting on from him this spring and obviously next season?
Well, he's not getting a whole lot of work this spring. We've got him in a green jersey, so he can go through the drills, and we don't hit the guys in the green jerseys, so he's able to go through some drills and get a little bit of team reps, but no contact. But he's very, very fast, very fast, and he's a good hitter, very aggressive, and he surprised us in a lot of ways. I don't know if you know much about the story about how he got here, but I was in Fort Wayne a couple of years ago, and we had a couple of Fichtners that have Purdue history. We have Randy Fichtner that coached here, and then his dad, Ross Fichtner, was a great player here and coached in the NFL, and I've been around forever. And I was in Fort Wayne, and someone had pronounced Landon's name incorrectly and asked me if we would let this Fichtner boy walk onto our football team. I wasn't sure who he was, but I knew who the Fichtners were, so I said absolutely. So I came back and told the staff we had to hold a spot for, I guess I thought it was maybe Ross Fichtner's grandson or second nephew or something. So we held a spot for him, and he came out, and I remember grabbing him the first couple of days and welcomed him to Purdue and told him I knew his dad and his granddad and Ross and Randy, and he gave me a funny look. Wasn't sure I was talking about, and I said, "You're relatives of Fichtner." He said, "Well, I'm Fichtner." So if someone hadn't pronounced his name incorrectly, he may not be here today, okay? Because we didn't know a whole lot about him. But he's really fast, and he really likes to hit, and he's a good football player, and he surprised us. He came on board and did a great job on the scout team getting after guys, and we put him on special teams, and he did a good job on teams, and played some for us last year in the secondary. So he's a good player, and it's great to have him on the team.
And what does he need to improve on? What does he need to do to be able to get significant playing time next year?
Well, he's going to have to get healthy, and there was a lot of competition, in our secondary, a very talented secondary, and if he had not gotten injured, he'd be in the rotation right now because he was one of the more experienced safeties coming back. So he's going to have to get healthy and come out here and earn a spot.
You've mentioned several times at the end of last year in the spring about you wish you would not have redshirted Frankie Williams.
Right.
And you may have answered this in a roundabout way, but specifically, what about Frankie would force you to say something like that about his talent that he pushed to get on, would have pushed to get on the field last year?
Well, we thought he was a great player and a great prospect when we recruited him, and thought he would come in and return punts for us. And we have some good corners on our football team, and we had two senior corners with Mike Ergel and Al Williams, and both of those guys were kind of in position to take care of that fourth corner spot. We had Ricardo and Josh and then Nermondo, and then the two seniors at the fourth corner spot, and I thought that would give us the luxury to be able to redshirt Frankie, which is always the best thing to do if you can. And then when it was all said and done, as the season progressed, he was a better player than those two seniors were, and we could have used him on special teams. He probably would have been one of our better special teams players. He could have been our punt returner last year, and I think he would have been in the mix if we would have taken the red shirt off of him. He'd have been in the mix to compete for playing time. So the bottom line is, when the season was all said and done, I thought he was one of our better football players, and he could have helped us win last year. In different roles, obviously,
right.
But we were able to redshirt him, and that's probably a good thing now.
Did you just get too late in the season to play him once you figured all that out? Or?
Well, we were able to stay healthy,
right.
And the season had progressed on, and we went ahead and secured the red shirt. But it was hard, even towards the end. I was going to take the shirt off of him, let him cover kicks, and he came out here on the scout team and really competed and got after the offense. And he's got some tenacity about him, and he doesn't take any crap, and he gets after it, and just has a lot of redeeming qualities as a football player. And he demonstrated those on the scout team, and it was all said and done. He was one of our better players who we did playing last year.
It seemed like him and Taylor Richards both kind of had that mentality that you want from a defensive back.
Absolutely. Just out of a football player. They both were outstanding football players in high school, and both of those guys, when we recruited them and got on them early and recruited them hard, and we got close to them, and we realized that they were on our short list, guys that we really wanted, that really liked us back, and we were very excited about that because we thought both those guys were top players for anybody. They're tough guys, and they really love football. They like to hit. They're very fast and athletic. They both come from really good football backgrounds, from very competitive programs and very competitive districts and leagues that they played in. So I think they're excellent players. We have two outstanding corners right now with Josh Johnson and Ricardo Allen, maybe as fine a pair of corners in the league, and both those guys I think are draft picks. And I think that Taylor Richards and Frankie Williams are also great corner prospects as well.
What will be your format for the steak and beans scrimmage? Will it be ones against twos, or I mean, how are you going to?
Well, we're going to go best against best when you put something on the line like that. So I don't want any asterisk next to the guys that are eating beans. You know, so we didn't tackle today out here for a reason. If we'd have tackled hard today, we might have got a couple guys nicked up, and we're really thin right now depth-wise. We have some guys that are just getting a million reps out here, and congratulations to those guys for getting all that good work. But if we would have tackled today, we might have had 2 or 3 guys that weren't able to go in the scrimmage on Friday, and that's an important scrimmage. So I want to be full speed ahead and have a healthy team, and we'll come out and practice a little bit. I'm not sure exactly what the format's going to be, but it has to be something that's really simple so that the coaches can't screw it up because there's a lot on the line. So we're going to keep it simple. We'll have officials out here, and we're going to get after it. It's going to be a big day.
But like ones against.
We're going to go best versus best, absolutely, and then twos versus twos, or else it ends up being, it could be a mismatch in some ways.
Right.
You know, I want to get our best linemen up against KK and Ryan and Bruce and those guys, and get our top receivers against our top DBs, and really get after it. So it's going to be a heck of a day. I can't wait for it to get here.
On Monday, when you were talking about the middle linebackers, and you mentioned Sean was getting a lot of the first team reps, is Mike Lee still around, or what's his status?
Well, Mike is out right now. You know, he had a collision and had some concussion symptoms, so they're being precautionary with him right now and holding him out. You know, and anymore with the emphasis on concussion management, when you get a guy that has some symptoms, they could be out for a while. You know, so obviously Beckford's not here, and then Higgs was sick the other day, and Mike was doing a good job, but they're holding him out right now, and it's a great opportunity for Sean Robinson.
Is that something that happened in spring practice?
It happened a couple days ago.
Okay.
So what do you think about a couple of your young running backs like Gentry and Hunt, and what they're doing in this spring, and what you expect them to be able to provide from a depth point of view in the fall?
Well, I think both of those guys are going to help us win next year. I think Akeem Hunt is one of our better football players right now, and I thought he was at times throughout the course of the season. He's the guy in the class that was probably the biggest and brightest surprise out of the bunch. We really liked him, but I didn't realize he was the class sprinter that he is. You know, he has outstanding speed, and sometimes when you have a real fast guy, a guy that has legitimate track speed, you're dealing with a track athlete and hoping he can play football, and he has sprinter speed, and he's a heck of a football player. So he's had several plays out here this spring where he's taken the ball the distance, and we have a really fast back half on defense. If you can get out and outrun Ricardo and Josh and EJ and all the fast guys we have in our secondary, then you're a big playmaker. And that's what I think Akeem Hunt is. I think he's a big playmaker for us, and he's really tough. He's like Mostert in some ways. We have to find ways to get him the football. I think he's one of our better weapons on offense. And then Gentry, he was from way out in Mejia, Texas. I never even heard of the place before. And there wasn't a lot of people that went out that way to recruit. We really liked him on film. We wanted a back that had good speed and good size, and he has good speed and good size, and he's an excellent person, really a hard worker, and doesn't say a whole lot, just gives you all he has, and he's got good moves and good toughness, and he's had a good spring so far. So those guys will provide some depth at the running back position, but I anticipate both those guys playing next season, and I would expect Akeem Hunt to make a difference to our football team.
Peter sounds pretty optimistic that he'll be fine, right?
Yeah, that's huge too. We're probably the leanest position on our football team from a depth standpoint is probably on the offensive line, and some of that has to do with the recruiting line prospects a couple years ago, thinking that maybe more of them might have moved over to the offensive line, but guys like Ryan Russell and Ryan Isaacs ended up being awfully good players. So we're loaded on defense with line prospects in some ways right now, and a little bit leaner on the offensive line. We have enough, and we have good offensive linemen, but Peters Dry is probably the only offensive lineman on our football team right now that can play any one of the 5 positions. He can come in and be a really good tackle for us, and that's the spot where the shortest at right now, the leanest at right now. He has started for us at guard, and he has started for us at center. I haven't been around many offensive linemen in my coaching career that at any point in time I could take him and put him in any one of the 5 spots across the offensive line and believe that he could play winning football for us against top competition. And I think Peters Dry could do that, and only a few other guys that I've been around could do that. Matt Light could do that. He could play anywhere across the front and been an excellent player for us, and Peters Dry can do that. So him healing up and us being optimistic about his return is huge for our football team.
Why is Tommy Thomas valuable to the team?
he's a good player now. He was a good prospect when we were recruiting, but he's really worked hard and he's developed himself into a good player. We have new coaches on defense, and we sit here and watch film, and they'll ask, hey, who's this guy? Who's that guy? And I've had 2 or 3 times, hey, who's number 12? He's a good player. So he was a good prospect. He was a heck of an athlete in high school and the highest character guy. He really is. But he was tall and long and weak and had to develop his speed and had to develop his strength, and he's really worked hard, and he's a good player. He works hard on the perimeter blocking. He's has good hands. He's smart. He's a guy that we ought to be able to move around some. I think, is one of our better leaders on our football team by example, and also the quality and character person that he is. So he's very important to our football team as a player and as a person and a leader.
Kind of on an unrelated note, how has Twitter kind of affected the way recruits can talk to players and coaches before arriving on campus? Specifically, Appleby and Anthrop kind of getting together and becoming friends before arriving. Is that a good thing?
I think it's a good thing. Our recent signing class had a chance to bond some throughout the recruiting process, and they connected via Twitter and Facebook and all that. So that's a good thing. Personally, I'm not a big tweet guy. I have a Twitter account, but all I really use my Twitter account for is, on an occasional basis to tweet some things out there, some facts about Purdue football. But to me, tweeting is a lot like keeping a diary. And back in the day, men didn't keep diaries. We didn't share our secrets and post them to the world. So I still don't get the Twitter thing. It doesn't excite me a whole lot, but I'll be okay the rest of my life without it.
You got to tap into your sensitive side now.
Right. It's in there, I guess. It just isn't me, I don't get it. Normally if I've got some personal business, I keep it to myself. I don't get
called personal business.
Yeah, sharing my opinion that no one really cares about.
Or you go to the grocery store. I went to the grocery store and bought Charmin bath towels.
I don't get it, sometimes it can be damaging because things happen and guys, they express their feelings, they get emotional, and they express their feelings, You know how it is when someone catches you at an emotional point in time. You might say something that you haven't given a lot of thought to, and every once in a while that happens. I just don't get that part of it, So
That happened last year.
it does. I don't know if I still think all that was misconstrued. To be quite honest with you, I still don't have any issues with this situation last year. But I don't get it. And maybe I'm just too old, not cool enough. But I don't get it. All right.
Can you talk a bit about Kugler and his development on the offensive line?
Now, he's doing very well. And his dad was a heck of an offensive lineman. He's also the offensive line coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And so he comes from a pretty good trench background, if you will. He's really, really tough, and he loves football, and he's mentally tough. Things don't get to him. You could take him and put him in a situation that he's never been around ever, and it doesn't bother him a bit. He goes out there and does the best that he can, and he hangs his hat on that. So I like his mental makeup. I think he's got the mental makeup for a really good offensive lineman, and he has a knack for playing with leverage. He was a really good player in high school as a tight end and a defensive lineman, and has a knack for playing with leverage. And some guys don't necessarily have that knack, so he fares very well on the line of scrimmage, even though he's not as old or not as big as some of the other guys. So I think he's going to be a great center before he leaves Purdue, and I think he's a guy that'll play some for us next year.
Would you say? Obviously his dad played, and now I think his brother is going to Michigan, I believe. Is that family? When you have a family that plays a lot of football, that always is a plus. Is that a plus in recruiting?
Well, we've been connected to the Cougar family for a long time. Okay, I've known Robert's dad for a long time, and he was Coach Nord's offensive line coach, our offensive coordinator, Coach Nord's offensive line coach, when Coach Nord was the head coach at UTEP. And I used to fly out to UTEP and spend time clinicking their staff, and he would send Robert's dad, Sean Cougar, to Purdue, and we would X and O and get on the board. So we've been talking football. Robert's dad and I have, Sean Cougar have for many, many years. And then it's ironic how it worked out. Patrick Higgins, our receiver coach, and Robert Cougar's mom, they went from kindergarten all the way through high school, maybe through college, as friends have known each other. So there's a lot of people on the staff. Coach Nord knew Robert Cougar when he was, a small child. So we've known the family for many, many years, and that was our connection with the Cougar family.